On the afternoon of February the 13th, 2017, Liberty German and her friend, Abigail Williams, were dropped off by family members near the Monon Bridge, where the two went hiking on a nearby trail. Hours later, a relative arrived to pick the girls up, but they never showed up. Family members reported the girls missing at 5:30 p.m. that evening. The next day, the girls' bodies were found by search crews about 3/4 of a mile from the abandoned railroad bridge where they were dropped off to go hiking. Join me today as I have traveled to Delphi, Indiana. You'll want to put in your GPS Monon Bridge Trailhead. It will lead you to this gravel road to where it branches out into this parking lot. And you will see the concrete, you'll see the Freedom Bridge, and you'll just park your car. When you get out, you will see this wooden sign. And it says, Delphi Historic Trails, Monon Bridge Trail, parking area, open dawn to dusk. And that is how you know you're in the right place. It was raining on this particular day, but I decided to go on the trail anyway. This case of what happened to Abby and Libby was kind of close to my heart because I have daughters the same age that they were. And I just wanted to travel here to take it all in and to see if I could have any opinions or ideas, if it would change anything in my mind about what I thought had happened here and who was responsible. This was the first time I'd ever seen the Freedom Bridge in person. I'd seen it many times before from true crime YouTubers, but never in person. Seeing it in person is definitely a different feeling. You can see the Freedom Bridge is there, and here's the interstate. And I never knew that the flow of traffic was that close to the Freedom Bridge before. That was one of the first new things that I learned by being there in person. You will see at the beginning of the trail head that there is a map that says Monon Bridge Trail, and it shows you exactly where you are and how to get on the trail, which is what I was doing. And I point out the Freedom Bridge again. And I also not only wanted to visit this so that I could look to see if I could see any clues, basically, or anything different than I had seen online. I also wanted to film as much of this trail as I could. I don't have the best camera in the world, but I wanted to record it in 60 frames and in 4K resolution. And in things that I thought was interesting or different, I wanted to record it on the video. In fact, as I'm walking across the Freedom Bridge here, I'm going to pan out and I'll show you the interstate. Because a lot of people, as I was reading on true crime blogs and forums, they talked about how this place was open to traffic and semis and things of that nature. Because in one of the theories, someone had said that maybe it was a stranger who committed this crime, that maybe it was a trucker that had been driving back and forth from the interstate. Now, do I necessarily think that? I will discuss it here in a few minutes as we get farther into the video. Now, I'm not going to repeat the whole story of what happened to Abby and Libby. I'm not going to regurgitate the story because so many people have told the story already. And I feel that if you clicked on this video, then you already know what happened on February the 13th, 2017. That is not why I'm here to tell the story. I am here just to get a look at the trail and to just see if I see anything that I never seen before, that I couldn't see just in videos, if that makes any sense. And as I'm looking around, I wanted to make this video, even though I know there are hundreds already on the internet. I thought just maybe I would be able to get something different, or my thoughts would be a little different. I saw this mural in the slab of granite, I believe it's granite, of a locomotive. It looked like a train engine. So I'm not a local in Delphi, so I assume by all of the signs and reading everything that this was once pretty rich in railroad crossings. In fact, I think that this Monon High Bridge Trail, I believe at one time, and you can comment about it in the comments below, that a train tracks went through here on the very trail. I'm pretty sure. And back in February of 2017, I do not believe there were any of these gates up here that you see on the left and the right. I don't think the concrete was here. I think this was just a gravel trail that goes back into the woods here. Now, I don't know what I was expecting when I started walking on the trail. I thought it was going to be isolated, and maybe on each side there was going to be a ravine or something. But that's not the way it is at all. In fact, on each side, you see, this is June when I'm visiting here, and the greenery, the grass, the trees, everything's all grown up. But you see, on that fateful day that Abby and Libby walked this trail, it was in the winter time, and all the greenery was gone. So you could just plainly see in every direction. Not like here. But I had previously thought that there were just drop-offs on each side of the gravels of the trail, and that's not so. In fact, on each side, there are hills, and on the right side, it's more hilly right here. But it is possible for someone to walk or run through the weeds down there. On the left, there's actually properties. And I show that here in a minute. I previously didn't know that there were properties to the left of the trail. And I believe on some parts of the trail, I saw remnants of old cross ties. As you look to the left here, you can get a perspective right here that there are barns just probably, just guessing, I would say 2,000 feet, something like that. And then I was really surprised because I just walked just a little bit farther, and you can see right here on the trail that this grass has been mowed and taken care of, and it just goes right onto somebody's property. There's 2 red barns up there, and I thought this was secluded, and it's definitely not as secluded as I thought just by reading the story on the internet. As I looked to the left and the right, it started to actually flatten out more on each side. So it was absolutely possible for people to walk back and forth on each side of this trail. In fact, it made me start thinking that, there could be more people hiding in those woods at any given time and go undetected. And there were trails, other trails like walking trails. And there were even spots that looked like there may have been tire tracks. So I wonder if people actually ride motorcycles, dirt bikes, or ATVs, things of that nature, on the sides of the trails. And, that's opening up another possibility. Was anybody that was involved with this crime, could they have used an ATV or a motorcycle of some kind? I mean, it's possible. Definitely possible. And just by going here and actually looking at the layout of the land, it was putting more ideas in my mind. Before I go on with my thoughts and opinions, I just want to get something clear really quick here. I just want you guys to know that all of these ideas and opinions and thoughts are my own. I'm not going to be like a lot of true crime YouTubers. Here are some of the things I'm not going to do in this video. And I'm not calling anybody out or hating on anybody that does do this out there. But I'm not going to be releasing 4 videos a day on a true crime case. I mean, it's simple why I don't. I think that's somewhat making a living off of a tragedy, which is disgusting. 2, if there is no more information released by the authorities or anybody that's reputable that is releasing true information, there is no way after years of a crime that new information is being released so much that 4 videos a day needs to be made and put out there. And I'll give you an example of this in this very case. You see, the crime had happened and 5 years had went by and there was no mention of the name Richard Allen until he was arrested. It totally caught the true crime podcasters and YouTubers, just the whole true crime community off guard, because until that day when authorities had mentioned the arrest and Richard Allen's name, no one had said that, but yet they were releasing video after video after video naming people, and no more information was coming out, and they were just being speculative and just throwing rumors and wild stories out there. And I believe they did this to simply just to create content when there wasn't any, out of a tragedy, which is a tragedy within itself. Another thing I won't be doing is name dropping or giving private information about people that I think is involved unless they have been arrested by authorities, as I have dropped Richard Allen's name. He is allegedly the one who committed this crime and has been arrested for it and is currently awaiting trial. So that is why I have dropped his name. If you think before you speak, you will know when you drop someone's name that they could be harassed or even stalked or have bad public opinion. Even if they're proven innocent by the court of law, their name could still be tainted. So that is why I'm very careful when having theories that I don't just come out and drop names. I just wanted to get that out there, so I'm going to move on with my thoughts as we go on this trail. If you look to your right, you will see a wooden fence put up, and I do not believe that was there in 2017, although I could be wrong. Also, the asphalted path was just gravel back then too. So what we know so far is that Richard Allen has been arrested for this crime. And the trial is set to start in October of this year in 2024. And it's expected to last 5 weeks. Okay, going forward with my thoughts and opinions on this case, I think there was more than one perpetrator, one killer in this case. One of the first things that I think about is the timeline. The timeline is supposed to be between 2:13 and 4 o'clock is when the murders were supposed to have happened. And I just think that is a very fast timeline there. The girls would have had to been led across the bridge, over the hill, through the woods, across Deer Creek, and then murdered. And what would have took the longest amount of time, I believe, is cleaning up all of the evidence. Because as far as we know, and I could be wrong about this too, but as far as we know, there was no conclusive DNA found or anything like that, just Abby and Libby's DNA. But the smoking gun that was found by law enforcement was that bullet close to the bodies that matched to a gun that Richard Allen owns, in which he said he had never let anyone borrow it at any time ever before. That is one of the key links that links him to this murder. Now, I have always suspected that there is a sort of DNA in this case. I am thinking from all that I've read that he had a dog, and on his clothes that some of that dog hair had shed and got onto one or both of the girls' clothing, and they may have tested that animal. It had passed away since the crime occurred, and I think they may have exhumed the animal and tested those animal hairs and compared them from the crime scene. Now, that is a big speculation that can't be proven, but I've read that from many different sources that are pretty close to law enforcement. So I can't prove it. I don't know if that's true. And also, the amount of time it would have took to clean up the crime scene, I'm thinking that would have took more than one person. Coming up here on the trail, I know that Libby and Abby were dropped off on this trail, And since I'm not a local, I don't know. But if you know a lot about this case or you're from Delphi, then maybe you can answer this question. Is this where their sister dropped them off at? I mean, this looks like a gravel drive, if you will, and it leads to the other side of the road. They could have, turned off there. It says 501 steps. Mary Gerard Future Reserve. I may have pronounced that wrong. I'm sorry if I did. It is part of another trail that goes across diagonally from this trail and goes over to the right. This is also where they have set up somewhat of a memorial for Abby and Libby. You can see flowers have been left. And I don't know about Abby, but I know that Libby actually played softball. So that explains the softball being there, and a rock and money and little sayings and candles and just a lot of things to remember them by. So it would have made sense if they were dropped off here, representing the memorial. But then again, I don't know. As I continue down the trail, like I said, all of this would have had to been done in less than 2 hours, like an hour and 47 minutes by one person. And then you got to think, did that one person, how did he know they were going to be there? Was this a coincidence that he came upon them? Or did he plan this out beforehand? Did somehow he know that Abby and Libby were going to be there at the time that they were? And if so, how? I think the latter. I think that he knew they were going to be there. And I think that there was more than one person, because a lot needed to be done in this crime to commit the crime, especially the cleanup. So I think there were multiple perpetrators. And another reason why I think this is, in the beginning when this crime happened, I believe it was 2 days after the crimes happened, there was a mugshot made from witnesses. And that mugshot depicted an older man. And that was the mugshot of the person of interest for 2 years. And then 2 years later, in 2019, another mugshot was made. And they stated that this mugshot was of the guy seen on the bridge, also known as Bridge Guy. And they specifically said that, and that the other mugshot was of someone different. So, was the mugshot made of the first person, just an innocent person walking on the trail that day? Or was it an accomplice? I tend to think it could be an accomplice. And that would make sense because, like I said, I think this crime took more than one person. What do you guys think? Do you think there's more people out there that are involved in this case? Do you think it took more than one person to do this crime? I also think it was a local and not just a stranger from passing by from the interstate. I think these people knew how to get in and out, every way of how to get in and out of this trail. I believe they've been to this trail many times before. Some other thoughts I have is I just wonder about the first day. You see, they were reported missing, according to the reports that I have read, at 5:30 p.m. And soon after, they were searching. So they searched the first day. Now, here's where my reading gets a little cloudy, because I've read different things from different articles. So I don't know what is accurate here, but I do know they were reported missing at 5:30, and it has been said they were searching for the two girls on the same day they went missing. So if they started searching for the girls around 5:30 or a little after, that is roughly just 2 hours or a little more since the crime happened. It would still be daylight. And given that the girls were found just, did it say 3/4 of a mile from the bridge, it seems like everybody out searching that first day would have found them. I kind of wonder why they weren't found the first day. Since they were so close, their bodies were found so close to where the bridge is. It seems like I just don't know why they wouldn't have found them that very first day. And as I read, it said later on in the night, like the wee hours of the morning, maybe 12 or 1, I think I read, that they called off the search for the night. And then the first thing at morning, sunrise, they continued the search the next day. And the next day, they found their bodies 3/4 of a mile from the bridge, near the creek, near Deer Creek, on someone else's property who I'm not going to name. So I'm just wondering, again, why they didn't find the bodies the first day. I'm also going to be wondering this. As I walked on this trail, I saw so many barns, so many buildings, and even close to where the girls' bodies were found, I saw other properties and buildings. So it kind of crossed through my mind, maybe the bodies weren't there yet. Do they have the correct timeline? Do they know, or have they released publicly the time of deaths? And if they have, here's another thought. Were both girls killed at the same time? Or did one or the other live longer than the other one? That is something I've always wondered. That would be a big clue to this case. I always thought this was a kidnapping gone wrong, and they fought to get away. And when they started to fight to get away, that is what turned it into a murder instead of a kidnapping. But I could be wrong about that. So what I'm wondering is, were these girls murdered and then hid in a building somewhere? And then they waited until the search was over for the night, and then they placed the bodies where they were found the next morning? And that gave them longer to stage the crime scene? Is that what happened? This next idea seems far-fetched and maybe something out of a movie, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Was it possible there was a bunker on the grounds somewhere below the bridge or close on someone else's property? Were the girls alive through the night and actually held against their will in an underground bunker, or maybe a smaller bunker? I have seen people use small septic tanks covered over that are just, 6 feet wide and probably 4 feet tall. It doesn't take much to make a bunker. Were they in someone's house or barn or a bunker? And, probably they didn't even check for a bunker. But, it is possible, I guess. I just didn't want to not think of it as a possibility. Or they could have even used a bunker to hide the bodies and then go back in that first night after the search was called off and then place the bodies where they found them the next day. And it gave them time to stage the scene. Those are some of my thoughts and ideas. I'm sure they have been thought of before, probably. I haven't seen anyone write that down. And this is why I went here, to think of these possibilities. And also another possibility is them escaping the other people that were involved on ATVs or motorcycles. And, without being seen and coming out of there quickly. Now, another thing that could be possible is that they could have the timeline completely wrong. Which, that is possible. As I'm almost up to the bridge now, there is yet another sign that says private property, no trespassing. And this is right next to the bridge, and you can come up out of the woods down from Deer Creek and come up through there. As you can see, I'm at the bridge now, and it's almost, the beginning of it is just like almost unrecognizable from the videos I have seen, because they started to renovate this. The sign basically says there, if you get hurt, it's on you. It's your own. Do this at your own risk. I can tell in the future they're going to be putting maps there and probably opening the trail up bigger. And as you can see, they have installed plenty of cameras, security cameras. I'm going to point these out. There's one there, and there's one there, all around through there. And it actually says, if you see anything suspicious, please call local law enforcement. And I'm showing you there's trails that do lead out of there. And I'm going to take a look over the rail and see what it looks like down there. That is Deer Creek. I believe the water level was up more all those years ago now. I can't believe it's been 7 long years. But I do believe a lot of it looked 2 to 3 feet deep here. And at some of the deep spots, maybe 5 feet. But I'm pretty sure the 2 to 3 feet was deeper the 7 years ago when this crime occurred. And this whole bridge right here, this has been remodeled. This used to be old wooden cross ties that you've probably seen in other videos. It looked terrible and like it wouldn't hold you up. And here's a look off the left side of the bridge. You can see that squirrel running up through there. It may have looked like it flooded and brought this debris downstream a little bit. All those logs and sticks and brush. And up that direction, around the bend, 3/4 of a mile over in that area is where I've read that they found the bodies, over in that direction. And in fact, on some YouTube videos, you see all of this that's grown up, that's actually small trees now. Not too long ago, this was all cut down. And there was a lot of YouTubers who made videos who were over in that area walking around, even under the bridge, making videos. You can see it's pretty well grown up now. Now, this new part of the bridge doesn't go very far at all. It does go over Deer Creek, but it doesn't go all the way across the trail. You can see this is made out of metal, and it's really sturdy and it's safe. Again, I'm going to take another look down here, see if I can see any fish, because that's what Richard Allen said he was looking at that day, is the fish. I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm just saying you have to have pretty good eyesight probably to see the fish, unless you're just watching them jump maybe out of the water just a little bit. Not really for sure what he was trying to say. Yeah, you can see this is all grown up a lot more than it used to be. They used to keep a lot of that over to the right of the bridge cut down, and people used to go over there all the time making videos. And it was still raining at this time. Sprinkling, but still raining. And I always wondered, was this bridge really far up there? I mean, how far up was this bridge? It had said 65 feet on the articles that I read. And believe me, it's every bit of that, if not more. It is very far up. I come over here and then I look at the right side again, which it looks slightly less, the water looks slightly less deeper on this side as it goes downstream. It looks like a good place to actually fish, but it says on the signs everywhere, no fishing. Oddly, I zoomed in here and I could see a wooden pallet right there, and there was actually one to the left of it. The only thing I could think that people were fishing there, and that they just used those pallets to step back up onto their driveway, because there are people that live farther back in there. In fact, I'm going to be taking my drone up in the air and be getting a drone point of view, an aerial view of the area in just a couple of minutes. So you can see those surroundings. And there's going to be houses and things, and I'm not going to say whose houses they are, but you will be able to see them. As I approach the end to the renovated part of the bridge, you can see the original part right there, the wooden cross ties. And as I look down, you can see we are really far up. If you fell from there, it would more than likely kill you. So I always wondered the question, since there was a lot of people recording, making videos, and they would cross this bridge, I asked myself the question, if I ever had the opportunity, would I walk across this bridge? And I can tell you right now, the answer is a definite no. I'm sure it would probably hold up. You see, right around in this area is where all the greenery and the trees have grown a lot more than they used to be. And also in the wintertime, when the crime occurred, you could see all the way to the other end. So now it's just as almost like very rotten. And, you know, I like to use the joke termites holding hands. But I do think it would hold somebody if they were brave enough. It's just, there's no reason for me to take a chance. And it's probably against the law now to cross across the renovated part. So I didn't even want to try. So this is as far as I go walking. I don't go all the way across the bridge to the end. When thinking back to that day on February the 13th in 2017, it was just down there on these cross ties is where Libby must have uploaded the picture of Abby on social media just shortly before the crime was about to happen. Shortly before the bridge guy started to walk on that bridge, trapping them in so that they had to walk to the other side. And then when they walked to the other side is when he forced them down the hill, as we later heard on Libby's phone, as she was smart enough to push record on her smartphone. And that would give law enforcement a lot of clues in trying to solve this case. As we go airborne here, you're going to see an aerial view of the bridge. That is not me on the bridge. That is just some people who decided to walk on the trail as I was walking on the trail. It is recommended that people travel in pairs now and not alone since the crime occurred. As you can see pretty high up in the air, you can look below and you can see Deer Creek. You can see the new portion of the bridge, and then you can see where the wooden part of the bridge remains. I'm going to keep flying and go over the bridge, and you can see that it is a lot longer than you think it is. It is a pretty long bridge, which also adds to the time it would have took to commit this crime. That is also why I'm speculative on the timeline itself. I think either there was more than one killer or the timeline is totally off. That's what I'm thinking. As I pan the camera down, you can see in the middle there, part of the railroad track. The bridge is still going across. Now, we're almost across, and we're going to see some properties on the other side. And as of June 2024, this is what it looks like across the bridge on the other side. And I believe, I don't know the exact spot, and everything's also all grown up. So I think somewhere over in this area, right in the middle maybe, and where I'm about to fly the drone, might be where they found the girls. I'm not really sure on that. I would need some input from people that actually, know or that was there. Like I said, I don't really know, but based on reading and researching, I think it was somewhere in this general area. And as you can see, the greenery, the trees, the grass, everything is just much more grown up in the summertime than it was back in 2017. I think it's just, they might have let it go and let it grow up even taller so people don't go down in there. I believe it's private property anyway, once you get off of that trail over in this area, because they said the bodies were found on the person's house on the left there. I believe it was their property. And you see there are other houses to the right, in the far right, near the back, and closer right across from the left of that house on the property they were found. There's a house to the right. Now, right in this area is where I think they were found. I think they were trying to lead them across the creek and back up this hill, because if you can see, this is going to be grown up a lot. But what I'm trying to show you here is there is a cemetery on the other side, and I have read on a lot of different articles that this is where a getaway car, for lack of better words, could have been, that they could have been parked in this cemetery, and that they could have used it to get away. That is where a lot of people were saying that they were on their way to go to. And if you turn around, and that's what I'm doing, turning the drone around, and straight from the cemetery and in a straight view, you will see it lines up with those properties. I'm not saying that's a clue or anything like that. That's just an observance I made. It lines up with quite a few properties in that area. That is the view coming back from the graveyard. And again, I'm going to kind of pan down, and I'm going to show you Deer Creek. I'm just going to turn all the way around and then return to the Monon Bridge. And as I go back, I'm going to show you how the creek flows on down this way. It goes underneath the bridge and keeps on going in the distance. I just wanted to give you a bird's eye view, an aerial view, if you will, so that if you're trying to put pieces of the puzzle together, that you can see this footage. Again, there's hundreds of videos, but just maybe I caught something on my video that's a little different, that can provide more information, that could help some people with their own theories and your own conclusions. After being here in Delphi and knowing what happened in broad daylight 7 years ago, made me be an overprotective father over the years. Because you never know when a monster like the one that took Abby and Libby is going to come out of nowhere and take your loved one. So love them while you can and watch them as best as you can, because you never know what's lurking around the corner. In the end, I caught myself wondering, where would Abby and Libby be had they lived? And then I went to the Abby and Libby Memorial Park built in their honor and to remember them. And there are baseball fields, playground equipment, and picnic tables and plaques that says nice things about them in their honor. I also thought of something positive to end the day, and that is that the monster or monsters that stole the lives from Abby and Libby could not do, even in death, what he sought out to do. He could not separate those two girls. And I believe that even in death, that they are in heaven, embracing each other and running through the fields as best friends forever.